Hello and welcome. Welcome. Thank you for coming to the East Coast Fashion Summit. Welcome to Miss Andrea Cabanas. She's here to do a tutorial on makeup and teach us a lot about how to start out as a makeup artist and how she has started out as a makeup artist. So welcome, Andrea, and thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks. Thank you so much for having me. I think this is really important to do as artists and people in the fashion community. I think it's important because we've been kind of cooped up and it's amazing how people have found ways to connect, but any little bit extra we can get is really, really important, I think.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure it's a ton of work, but super, super helpful.
Worth it.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So let's start by telling the people that are viewing a little bit about your background and what got you into makeup and specifically fashion makeup.
Absolutely. Well, I've been thinking about this answer for a while because it definitely comes up a lot, and the honest truth is that makeup really kind of found me, which I think is probably the story for a lot of people. I was living in Calgary, had just gotten married to my husband, and I was in political science. That was always supposed to be like the route I would take, but I was having a really hard time with like mental health and not really knowing like what I was going to do with that. Because in liberal arts it's not really like doing like becoming a doctor or going to medical school, so and Calgary was never really like, I never felt like home. So we really wanted to change, and he randomly got this job offer out here, and I had never been out here. I had no idea, like I had never even visited, and we just did it, and we moved, and while I was here I didn't know what I was going to do. If I was going to finish school here or try and stay online or what I would do. And in the meantime, I've always loved doing my makeup, so I applied to a beauty counter, and I had applied to that same beauty counter in Calgary about 3 different times, and I never gotten called back. And this one I got a call back immediately. I actually applied to be in the stock room, but they wanted me to do makeup, and I had never done makeup on anyone, like not even friends or anything.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I said absolutely, I would love that, and got the job, and then really it just snowballed from there.
Yeah, talk about jumping right in.
Yeah, so it's...
Let's just move across the country and jump into a whole new profession.
Yeah, and it's like I didn't dip my toe in. It was just head dive, really, because I got the training through there, but then like quickly people try to ask me to do their makeup for like weddings and things like that, and I didn't have a license, so it was a split decision. It seems like that's the theme with the story, because I was having ice cream with my husband, and we were right beside the school that I went to, which is HDC. It's in Clayton Park, and the marble ice cream is there. Yeah. And I looked up at the sign and I said, why don't I just go to makeup school? And like a month later I was enrolled. So and then in that school, my first job out was actually on a makeup show. I mean, a TV show doing makeup.
Not a bad start.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, it snowballed from there. I shortly after got a studio so I could do lashes, because as you know, TV work isn't consistent all the time, and I met people through the industry. That's how I met you guys through that show, and so it's really been since then, it just kind of snowballed, and that's why I like to say that it found me, because it was never really the goal. It's
so interesting, because what a difference, like, to go from basically a political career to making people beautiful every day.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. What is your favorite part about working in the makeup and fashion industry?
I would say that's kind of a hard one, but my first thing is having that moment to ground yourself with your client, because it doesn't really matter if it's a wedding and the bride just stopped for a second to breathe in your chair, and it doesn't matter if it's a fashion show and a model just is running past you and they're shoveling food in their mouth as they're trying to get their makeup done. That moment is the one moment that person has to kind of breathe, and you get to share that with them, and it's really cool to have that moment. It's really an honor. So I would say that in an emotional level. And then as far as career goes, I just really enjoy how dynamic it is. I'm now looking back, I don't know that I would have been successful at a career where it was very similar days.
Right.
Because every day is different. Even if I'm doing the same client, or even if I'm on a TV show and it's the same episode, like the day is different no matter what. So I really enjoy that a lot, for sure.
Yeah. As a person who's been in your chair a couple of times, I just want you to know that you really do put people at ease.
Thank you.
And you really do make a great impact on how a person feels when they leave your chair. Not just because you make us look so good, because you do, but also because you make us feel really good.
Yeah, I think it's important.
Yeah.
I also think it can be a really vulnerable state, you know? Yeah. If somebody's about to go in front of the camera, or if somebody's about to walk down the aisle or a runway, it can be a very vulnerable state, because your face is, even if you're used to wearing makeup or whatever, you feel kind of naked in a way, right, on the chair. So I think it's important to really try and make that connection and put them at ease, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And that's good advice for everyone watching.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, being able to be that connection for people is massively important.
Yeah. Should I start doing my makeup?
Yes, let's see.
I don't know how much of a tutorial I'll do, because we're asked your questions, but I can always leave a link of like products and stuff.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And I'm just gonna do like a simple-ish look, so we can still
this would be like a day-to-day wear that you would do? Like something that you would wear every day to go run your errands or go meet with friends or that kind of thing?
Something light, for sure. And then also a bold lip, because I miss wearing bold lips.
Yes, girl. Love me a bold lip.
Yeah. The mask situation makes it a little harder,
the lipstick sales have gone down, but the mascara sales have gone up.
Oh my gosh, I should know that. That's really cool. And I'll make sure we can still kind of chat throughout.
Yeah, perfect. Sure. So I'll just keep it kind of easy.
Yeah, for sure.
Is it a lot different to prepare for like your kit for like a fashion show than it is for, say, like a bride for their wedding?
Right, yeah. It can be, definitely. I mean, I've tried to pare my kit down a little bit throughout the years that I've been in it.
Yeah.
Just to try and simplify and have learned to use products in different ways. But you can bring more things that, and this could be your bride, but usually, generally, they're not going to want like glitter and bold like graphic liner.
Right. So
you might want to add something like that, like those kind of bits and pieces to your kit. But it would be more about building it to more options for the fashion show, and then paring it down a little bit more for a bride. And you would have talked to your bride ahead of time, right?
Right, so you have an idea.
Yeah, that's the thing. You have an idea, even if, like, I know somebody that wants to do, like, a Halloween wedding, and it's going to be, like, a full Halloween look when they get married. But, even, that's kind of the difference. So even if you are told the looks ahead of time with a fashion show, you're still kind of walking into a surprise in a way. Whereas with bridal, you know the trends a little bit better, and you've spoken to your client about kind of what they want or what their wedding like theme is, if they're gonna have a big fancy wedding or if it's gonna be more. Well, now a lot of them are a lot more natural and like a little bit smaller. So
and you're dealing with one person, one skin tone. Where at a fashion show, you have multiple people, multiple skin tones. How would you suggest people prepare their kits so that they're more inclusive of other skin tones? Because I know I've had this issue before where some makeup artists aren't prepared to do like makeup on, for example, a person with a darker skin tone.
Absolutely. That's what, first I just want to say, like, for a wedding, it's not necessarily one person only, because you gotta remember
the
bridesmaids.
Yes.
And realistically, personally, I don't think you should walk out, even if it is a one client situation, without being able to tend to every shade in your kit.
Yes.
So you will likely have more skin variety in a fashion show, but I think you should always try and be prepared for everything. And I've run into that a lot. Actually, it happened twice last week where people with darker skin tones, people with tricky undertones, people with super light skin tones will ask when you're about to do your makeup, do you have my skin tone? And last week it was even, do you have my skin tone? And they like showed me their hand, and that's like upsetting in a way. I'm privileged enough that I've never had to ask a makeup artist that, but I would hope that in the coming years that's something that people don't have to worry about. So I really think it's important, whether you're going to a wedding contract or you're going to be in TV, because you never know, you might have to do an extra even if you're only working with one host. Always be prepared. And my biggest tip is, I thought I brought it, but I didn't, unfortunately. But I can describe it pretty well. My biggest tip is to try not to carry like bottles of foundation. So like, this is my personal one, obviously.
Right.
Try to have more like palettes or like professional products that you mix, and try to mix every color. Even if it's somebody like my skin tone or your skin tone that's just relatively easy to match, if you get used to always having to mix the color, you get your eyes used to seeing the undertone and the depth. And once you have that, once you're like really familiar with a color wheel and you're mixing your colors, then really it's not much different going to one shade range to the other.
Right.
So, and it also is actually a lot easier to carry, because so one of the palettes I wanted to show that I don't have is about this size, and it's different concealers that you can mix to make the color.
Right.
But there's only 6, because you should be able to make pretty much all skin tones with those 6. And at that would be a lot easier to carry than carrying like something like this. It's already mixed several of these. A lot of times they're in glass containers and things, so like your kit gets really, really big and really heavy. So I mean, in a selfish way, it's actually like easier.
It's easier and
to
smarter
do it too.
all the way around.
Yeah. So I would recommend that. I know it's really easy to get excited about new makeup releases. Let me see if I happen to. No, okay. I know it's really easy to get excited about new makeup releases, and brands that you love, like Fenty or things like that. The new one is Rare Beauty. That's the one I'm trying right now. But if you try and mix every shade and try to find more professional products, it really helps in the long term. And then also, I had the privilege of starting with a beauty counter, so I got my hands on a lot of people, or I should say my brush. So try to get your brush on as many different skin tones and skin textures that you can. It really, really helps in the long run, and helps you be more prepared and comfortable, so that hopefully in the near future people don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm tired of the question. As
Absolutely.
I know you are.
Yeah. So it's a lot easier to say carry something like this. So this is a MAC product. It wouldn't necessarily be the only one, but it's 6 deeper shades, and then you could get the lighter shades, and you would be covered for a wide range. So carrying something like this and learning how to mix all your colors from palettes like this one is better all around for getting a really good eye for matching. And then also it's a lot easier than if you had to carry like 7, 8 of these ones. And that's just for concealer. Think about like foundations are always bigger like this, so it's going to take up a lot of room, and it's just better all around.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, that's my biggest tip. Learn to
And
mix
it works on your artistry as well. Like you're improving your eye the whole time.
Absolutely.
And why wouldn't you want to do that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it'll make you better for mixing all kinds of things, because it's not always difficult to, because somebody has darker skin or the lightest skin. It can be also like if somebody has an olive tone too, it can make it difficult to match.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. What if you have one tip or trick that absolutely changed your life that you wouldn't mind sharing with our viewers today?
Absolutely. So focusing on eye makeup, because that's what a lot of us are doing now, is when you're doing your mascara, I know that you're done your eye usually, so you start kind of panicking if you get a mascara bit on your eyelid, because it ruins your look, or so you think. But then when you try to smudge it, it actually makes it worse, because then you get mascara in more places. So my trick is don't panic and wait till it dries, and then you can actually just flick it off because it's a dry bit of mascara instead of wet black pigment.
Yeah, because the wet just goes everywhere.
Yes.
Oh, so smart.
Yeah.
And that's good for me too. Thank
Yes,
you,
absolutely.
I never would have thought of that in my life.
And then, if you don't mind, I just learned this recently.
Yeah.
As a tip for artists to be less hard on themselves. It's a lot about like how your subconscious doesn't know if things are true about it or not, right? So you want to be more confident. And it's hard. I mean, this is advice that I hope will change my life, but it's not something that I already mastered or anything.
No, it's a work in progress.
Yes, being an artist always is, right? So, a lot of artists are perfectionists.
Yeah.
And we always are asking ourselves, what is wrong with this? Or how can I make it better? So but you always want to improve, of course. So instead of asking those questions that are inherently negative, try to ask yourself things like, how can I make myself do this faster? How can I do this in a different way?
Word it better.
Yes. Instead of asking yourself, what's wrong with this?
Yeah, that's a great tip. I hope people are listening because we're especially, I mean, everybody, but especially women, we're always in that negative space in our heads. So to flip that would probably, I don't know, save the world, Andrea?
Yes, it'll definitely save you some pains when somebody's in your chair, but potentially, absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What is one thing that you would like to tell a new makeup artist to absolutely avoid doing? Like, do not do this.
Right. That's hard. Because I'm sure I made all the mistakes.
Yeah, we all have.
Yes. First one, of course, is don't double dip because that's the biggest no.
Right.
Right. Especially, we really know how bad that is now.
Yeah.
But a big thing, and I absolutely do this. I mean, working at a beauty counter didn't help with this at all. But you get so excited about having a reason that is a write-off reason to buy makeup.
Yeah.
It's like mind-blowing because you already love makeup. So try not to buy absolutely everything that comes out for your kit. Right. Because the likelihood is that you're probably not going to use it.
And then you just have all of this extra product everywhere.
Yes. And the sad thing about makeup is that it does expire, so you probably...
And it's expensive.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you can get lots of pro discounts and stuff, but it really, I mean, the industry is so saturated now that it can be overwhelming, and things are coming out, like, every day now.
Yeah.
So I would say try and... There's a lot of artists now that are sharing, like, what's in their kits and things like that. So try to follow artists that you look up to, that you respect, and try to see what they're carrying. Keep an eye on what you do use. It's kind of like when you have your summer wardrobe and then you notice that you didn't use tank tops that summer. So now you know that you don't want to use tank tops next summer, so you donate it. Or you try to. So try to keep an eye on what you do use consistently before you go out and buy something else that you might use.
Right.
And you might need it later, and there's a good reason to buy it. And like I said, absolutely, I made this mistake. I think everybody does, but just try and think about it that way because it is an investment.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't want to be spending your money on things that you don't need. So
absolutely.
That's great. So let's talk about COVID. COVID has rocked the fashion industry, and the makeup industry is no exception. So, how has it changed your business, and how have you been doing business different now because of it?
Thankfully, I mean, with such, we have a regulatory body in the East Coast, so with such like strict sanitization rules and guides to follow, I haven't changed much in that sense. Because we always have to worry about cross-contamination, not just during COVID times. And so, in that sense, it hasn't changed too much other than a face shield. I already wore a mask for lashes just because someone's face is really right there.
Yeah.
But it's changed in the sense of, like, you almost have to get the person's trust work a little bit harder because I mean they've been cooped up in their house
And everyone's scared.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
I'm still scared of grocery stores, so.
Yeah. I always was, but anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So in that sense, it definitely changed the industry.
Yeah.
But like a lot of things, it's also changed the industry in good ways. So I was able to attend a 3-day conference, much like this one, just for makeup, that would usually have been in New York or Toronto it's called the Makeup Show. They have really great tips and tricks for artists. So if you want to follow them, that's what it's called. It's the Makeup Show.
Great, fantastic.
And so I was able to attend that, and I probably wouldn't have been able to, realistically, with like travel times and everything.
That's right.
And I had access to world-class makeup artists that I probably wouldn't have otherwise. And they even mentioned that they had access to them as well, because a lot of times with conferences, it's hard, as you know, with like artist schedules, to get people from, say, Europe to come speak. So that was really cool, and I was able to make connections that I wouldn't have necessarily been able to make. And then also, I would say the biggest thing is the conversation around inclusivity in every field, but especially fashion, makeup, creative fields. It's really opened the door for a lot of really important conversations about things, not just like inclusivity when carrying foundation in your kit, but also allowing space for those voices and space for minorities and people of color and people of the LGBT community to enter the space and really take charge of the industry. So that's a really good positive effect I feel it has had. And a lot of times when there's times of turmoil, it is the artistic community that kind of speaks out first, So I think it's no coincidence that it was a big conversation in that industry.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's awesome. Where do you kind of see the future of makeup, and specifically fashion makeup, in the next, 5 to 10 years? There's a lot going on.
Absolutely. So I think people are giving themselves permission to express themselves more, for sure.
Yes.
Especially after the time of rest we had, and a lot of places still have, I think those creative juices flow, and you have time to pause and develop yourself creatively. And I think that's the thing we're going to see a lot more of once things are opening, and even not opening. I mean, even something like this is getting creative about a different way of delivering information, So I think that's the way that things are going to shift, hopefully.
Yeah.
And then as well as just, again, that creating space for voices that haven't had that space before. I hope that that's a trend that really continues in the moving forward.
Yeah, exactly. So that we can actually change things instead of, only talking about it when something bad happens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think it's too bad that something had to happen.
Yeah.
But now that it has, it's a good time to make sure we don't waste that time.
And let's not lose that momentum. Exactly.
Let's not lose it, for sure.
Yeah. Do you use one type of brand? Do you have like a go-to brand, or do you find yourself using different companies for different products?
So I definitely use different companies, and I don't have a go-to brand, but I do have go-to types of products. And what I mean by that is I really recommend that people who are doing this as a job try to find products that are created by professionals for professionals. Mm-hmm. It's cheaper in the long run for an investment, and also the way that an artist thinks about how they're doing makeup and the product development is different than somebody who's trying to market to the everyday person, right?
Exactly.
Just with things like shade range and things like that. So I really like brands that cater and are created by professionals. So, for example, in Sephora, this in-house brand, they have a Pro line, so Sephora Pro, and that's developed by their top artists. Okay. And MAC Cosmetics has kind of always started as a professional brand.
Yeah.
And you can find things in the drugstore now too, which is awesome, an awesome way to get started. So NYX Cosmetics has a lot of pro products. Like I have one of these palettes that is from NYX, and it has like color correctors instead of concealers. Okay. So those are really mainstream ones, but I also wanted to mention some like more indie and not as well known ones that are created by minorities. And I have 3 of them. One is Mike Kitco, and it's an artist, James. His last name escapes me, but he's very well known in the industry, and he develops brushes and like accessories, so a brush belt and things like that.
Oh, nice.
Danessa Marix created a whole line. She's an artist, I believe, in the States, and she has these pigments for the eyes that are waterproof but also dry down. It's really cool.
Oh, cool.
And then the creative makeup is run by 2 artists in the States again, and they develop really cool things for like more editorial makeup, so more like fashion makeup. And yeah, so it's Danessa Marix, Mike Kitco, and the creative makeup.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So much great information, Andrea.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And let's take you right here. What is the best piece of advice that someone has ever given you about the makeup industry that has stuck with you even to today?
When I thought about this, I thought it was really funny because it was actually from Jeremy.
You're
yes.
kidding?
Yeah, absolutely. Jeremy Timmons. He's in the film industry and a mutual friend.
Yeah.
I was in a situation where it wasn't like a crazy thing or anything, but basically he said to me, nobody's going to stand up for your industry if you don't. And that really stuck with me, and I don't even know if I understood. I don't know if there was like a specific way he was meaning it, but now that I think about it, it's really, really important. As anybody in art is. And he wasn't just talking about makeup, he was talking about people that handle the cameras or hairdressers or anything like that. And in that situation, it was about something specifically to do with production. But as I think about it throughout my career, it's how you present yourself as well and how you show up.
Yeah.
So something like, for example, not carrying every foundation shade, that's in a way, like if you do carry all the foundation shades and you do tell a client, no, I've got you, you don't have to bring your own foundation, that's in a way standing up for your industry, because you're showing a different side of it and creating more confidence in the industry. So it doesn't have to be anything big. It doesn't have to be, fighting against production or anything big. It can be in the small ways that show up. Either you show up for your clients, and then the small ways that you contribute to the industry, that you can stand up for your industry. And I think it's really important for anybody in an artistic field.
Yeah, I think that's amazing advice. Yeah. I can't believe where you got that advice.
I
know. so great. Like,
yeah, he's got little nuggets of wisdom. For
I know, they do come out, don't they?
Yeah.
How would you say a new makeup artist could begin to set up a service menu and a pricing list?
Oh yeah, this is so hard.
Yeah, because are there any tools or apps that that can help with your menus and your pricings and your bookings? Because it is hard to find, and it's not out there information that's easy to access.
Absolutely. And I find a lot of creatives just hate back-end work.
Yeah, it's the worst.
I mean, I do for sure. So.
Yeah, it's the worst. We just want to do our thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to play with makeup.
Yeah.
So I would say, I'm not saying copy your prices, but I would say go to artists that you respect and look at their price lists and see how you fit into that. And this is still a part of like standing up for your industry. Don't, just because you're starting doesn't mean that it's not worth it.
Right.
That you're not putting your time and your effort in.
Value yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. You should value yourself, and also remember that it's not just that hour you're giving a client or that 10 hours that you're giving the TV industry. It's the hours you put into cleaning your brushes, researching, like going to that conference, shopping, trying out the product. It's all of that you need to pay yourself for.
Yeah.
So
all that experience and knowledge
absolutely.
that you don't just get by walking in the room.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, even if you're just starting out and just got out of makeup school, it's all that. So definitely don't lowball your prices.
Right.
And just marketing wise, which is something we unfortunately have to think about. People tend to, there's studies about how people tend to not go to the lowest price.
Right.
Because it sends some kind of message, I don't know. So definitely shop around. Think about all those things that I just said. It's not just that hour you're giving them.
Yeah.
And a few tools that help me is remember that you're now a business. So you do have to keep track of expenses and things like that. That will help with pricing because then you'll have an idea of what you're spending. And so I use QuickBooks, but I know there's another app that you said you use that's kind of similar.
Yeah, we used to use I'm using QuickBooks now too,
so
I already forget.
Yes, yeah. So there's a couple of different apps where you can keep track of expenses. That's really going to help for you to understand what your pricing should be. And I just use QuickBooks, and then also I use Wix for the website builder.
Yeah.
And that's important because it has the software to book your appointments.
Right.
And not just that, but your clients can book their own appointments. So if you enter into it hooks up right with your Google calendar or whatever calendar you use.
Yeah.
So it's like I can say, I'm on set this day, so I can't take clients, and they can make their own appointments. But it's not the only one that does that. I know that Squarespace also has that ability, and then I use Square, like the debit machine.
Oh, okay.
And they also have, I don't use it for that because I already had Wix, but they also have an appointment builder. So, and that makes it a little bit easier for me to take payments, and it also has its own invoicing, which invoices are also the vein of my existence.
Yeah, not fun.
Yeah, shop around, see what works with you. Where I find that artists are very visual people, so try, how you can do a trial run first.
Yeah, most of them have those free trials,
yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Yeah, so shop around in that way, and but I would say, again, like the makeup kit, try not to get everything all at once because that can get really overwhelming. So I would say probably keeping track of your expenses is the first thing because you will always have to pay taxes.
Right.
So yeah,
you might as well do it
absolutely.
right.
Yeah,
that's amazing advice. Amazing. Do you have a portfolio of your work?
Yes.
Yeah. I knew you did, and I've seen it. It's gorgeous.
Thank you.
Do you think it's an important thing to have for makeup artists? And how would you recommend a new makeup artist start building their portfolio?
For sure. So I'll tell you the advice I was given, and then I'm gonna build on it because I did that, and
you have some things to add.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do think that a portfolio is really important for anybody in that field because it's like your presentation card, your reference letter. When you send in a resume, if we're trying to think about it as a traditional job, it's your reference letter. So you're showing the world like who you are, and it is important to build up. And it doesn't have to be on a website right away. I like having it on a website because there's clients that like that presentation, but it doesn't have to be right away. I didn't have that right away. It took me a year. Actually, funny story. You also should, just in general, as advice, surround yourself with really great, supportive people. Because I didn't have a website for about a year, and my friend, her name is Danielle Grassley, she really has been supporting me through all this. And she kept telling me, you should get a website. And then one day, she sent me a link. And she had made a website for me.
Oh, that's an amazing friend.
Yes, with my Instagram.
Wow, everybody
pictures.
needs a friend like that.
Absolutely. So, it's really important to have supportive people like yourself.
Thank you.
And like
Same, right back at you, girl.
Absolutely. Yeah. It can be hard. I mean, you're putting your work out there for people all the time. But anyway, so the advice I was given is do everything for free the first year and say yes to everything.
Yeah.
So in a way, I still agree with that, in the sense that you should try and collaborate with people. If you go on Facebook groups or on Instagram, reach out to photographers, to fashion brands like yourself that you really like, and tell them, I'm a new makeup artist, I'm trying to build my portfolio. Could I help you out in the next makeup show, fashion show, or could I help out with your next photo shoot? Like, really important to do that, for sure. And that would be free work technically because you're collaborating. Yeah. But you are getting a lot in return, experience-wise, and pictures, which is what you need for the portfolio. I wouldn't say, however, to say yes to absolutely everything.
Right.
And if you can't if you can't afford to take everything for free the first year, that's completely fine. A lot of us can't. And it is going to be your career now, so you don't have to go that far.
Right.
And I unfortunately did have situations, and this is going to happen to everyone, unfortunately, where people would take advantage of that idea that I was working for free.
Yeah.
So definitely be open. Definitely reach out to people. But don't feel obligated to take every single job, and don't feel obligated to say to do free for every single job either, because it can get overwhelming. It can get discouraging if people take advantage, and you can burn out for sure.
Yeah.
But definitely, that's a really good way of building your portfolio. That's how I met Cass. Models that you develop friendships with and things like that. And it's also just really really important, not just fun, but fun also, to get to know the people in the industry, the people you're going to work with. You know, it's really nice to see a face.
You're not alone.
Yeah, absolutely. To see a face that you recognize. Like when I saw you on set and we'd already worked on a fashion show. Yeah, it's really nice because you're starting out and everything feels scary. So, yes.
That's great advice. And only say yes to the things that fit within who you are.
Oh, absolutely.
And what you can afford.
Yes.
You know? Yeah.
And that does not represent your brand. If it's something that you're absolutely never going to want to do, then, I mean, really, there's no value added.
Don't waste your makeup on that.
Exactly. Yeah.
How do you keep up to date on the latest? Like you said, something new is coming out every day now.
Oh, yes.
How do you keep up to date on the latest makeup trends, technology, and fashions, and kind of what is your go-to source for that sort of info?
I think it's social media now. Yeah. And things like this are an amazing opportunity. Try and find groups of professionals that are in the field. And it doesn't just have to be with makeup. That's one of a big advice I also got. Follow photographers that you admire. Follow fashion brands that you really, inspire you. And not just that inspire you, but I follow accounts that really challenge me. You know, I want to feel like I can't do that right now. I can't make that happen right now, but I will someday. Yeah. I will work towards that. So
aspirational as well.
Absolutely. So the makeup show is where I did the conference with. Really, really cool website, an account, things like the big brands that you want to get product from. Sephora Pro, NYX Cosmetics, MAC Pro. Follow people like leaders in the industry like Soleil Productions and fashion brands like you guys. Just really find, I would say, locally and globally, because you do want to see what things are going on outside of your local space, but you do want to, again, connect with your local teams.
Yeah, that's so important, because it's so different regionally, nationally, internationally.
Absolutely.
So you got to know where you're at and then what everyone else is doing. So that makes a lot of sense.
And the other thing, I think, is when you find someone that you really like, that you really aspire to, look at who they're following. Yeah. Because that's who they're aspiring to. That's how they're getting their trends, for sure. That's right. And don't forget
my tip.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't forget also fashion magazines. Like, it doesn't even have to be, Vogue. They have all the runway trends before they come out, and places like that where you can get all kinds of inspiration, for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So what's up next? What's up next for you, Andrea?
I'm hoping to add a new service to my menu with full brows. It's a brow lamination. Really exciting because I'm really obsessed with the bushy brow look. Yeah. And then as I get more into film and TV, I'm hoping to join the film industry more full time. So I have the hours now. I'm going to be applying soon. It's really exciting, for sure.
That's awesome.
And Yeah, I mean, it's hard to, I believe in making goals and aspirations and, you know, looking into the future for sure. It's really, really exciting. But at the same time, because this whole thing kind of snowballed for me, I'm very open to just staying open to what can come, because you never know when your next job or your next collaboration can come from. You don't know when those connections are going to pay off. There's times where I did a collaboration with somebody in school, in makeup school, and I didn't see them for a year or 2 years, and then they come up and they're like, oh, hey, I remember when we did this together. And it's something that you might not even think about as a source of income, but also as a source of developing your artistry. So I'm still surprised at the kind of things that require makeup. So I did a what's it called? A conference. I don't know why I can't say the word conference, but I did a conference for a huge car company. And you don't think about the things that need makeup, but the speakers, the CEOs of the car companies, needed makeup to go on stage and do their talking. And I got that job through a connection that I made years ago. So I love goal setting and I love looking ahead, but at the same time, keep in mind those connections you're making, because there's different ways and different avenues that you could have different opportunities come through.
And you don't even know that they exist.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when you're ready and you've thrown out amazing connections and you've developed these relationships and you've shown up and you've put in that time, you just don't know how that's going to come back to you.
For sure, it's really important. Yeah. And I also took a class on business development in that conference, and taking note of the different people that you work with and keeping up with those connections can really pay off in the future. And it's nice that I had already experienced that a couple of times before I took the class, because I think it can get exhausting sometimes to hear that, almost, because it's like, oh, but I've collaborated on so many things and it hasn't come, but it will. It will come, because when somebody thinks of a makeup artist, they'll think of you.
Yeah, exactly.
And my friend that's been in the industry for 8 years is fully booked for 2021 already.
Wow.
For bridal makeup. She told me that about 80% of her business comes from referrals.
Yeah. Wow.
So she's still doing all the marketing and everything, but it really pays off to make those connections for sure.
Those referrals.
Yeah.
And they're always better anyway, because they already,
right.
It's the same. Like, it's people that you already enjoyed working with referring you to more people that you'll likely enjoy working with.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so that quality is there too.
Absolutely.
So we're on the lips.
Yes.
The lip line.
I love fuchsia. It's my favorite color.
Gorgeous. I love a bold color. I do a lot of red, but I love me some pink too.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But I feel like red's your signature now.
It's kind of my fave.
Yeah.
It's been my favorite color for a long, long time, but I still got some pinks in the drawer. So your background is Spanish.
Yeah.
How do we say makeup in Spanish?
So it's actually my background's Mexican.
Yes.
And it's actually not my background's where I was born.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. But it's funny to think about it that way.
Yeah.
But it's you say Maquillaje, and that's actually my.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, it's my business name. So my name is actually Makeup by Andrea.
But Maquillaje by Andrea.
Yeah. So it's really cool. I really wanted to. My country really inspires me color-wise. Like,
gorgeous.
I feel like I have to kind of contain my color love just to fit into the industry sometimes.
Yes, don't do it. Don't fit in.
Yeah. So, but my country really inspires me in a lot of ways with all the textures and colors and boldness, and coming up here Halloween with Day of the Dead, Sugar Skulls, I love all of it. So I wanted to incorporate it into my name.
Yes.
Because I always want to remember where I came from. and what inspires me. So that's why that's in my name. Yeah.
That's awesome. So we're almost set for the day. You look gorgeous as always.
Thank you. One last thing I wanted to mention.
Yeah.
For just back to, because the artistry will come with practice, but back to what kind of impact you can have. There's a TED Talk by Eva DeVirgil. I'm sure I'm butchering her name, unfortunately. But I went back to watch it, and she didn't mention her last name, so. But it's called In My Chair. And just back to everything we've talked about the new conversations that we're having and how we're allowing people to come into the space.
Yes.
She talks about in this TED Talk, and it's on YouTube, so you can definitely watch it, how women come into her chair and always apologize. First thing in the first 3 minutes, they apologize.
Wow.
And it's true.
Sad
it really
statistic.
is. Yeah. So they sit down and they say things. I'm not going to do her speech because it's amazing. But they say things like, I'm so sorry. This is what my skin is like. I'm so sorry. This is all you have to work for. I'm so sorry. I look like this. And she noticed that it happened at any level. So she said that she even did makeup for a TED Talk. And the people that were speaking at TED Talk would apologize too. Wow. So
they seem so confident.
Yes.
And they're all in the chair like that.
Absolutely. And it's only women that do it.
Right.
So just to never underestimate the power you have in that moment. And I'm hoping that with time and with different voices coming into the makeup industry, we kind of change the narrative of you don't have to apologize for the way you look. And also, without makeup, everybody is just as beautiful.
Yes.
You know, makeup is only an artistic means, really. And
it's a beautiful expression in addition to who you already beautifully are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you can feel more confident. I know we were just talking about that congresswoman in the States who loves wearing the Power of Red lip.
Yeah.
And so it's important to remember that we are in an industry where the origins were vain in nature. So just remember that and treat that really delicately, because we have the opportunity now to really change the narrative and empower people back, give that empowerment back, or for the first time. And it's important not to take that for granted, for sure.
Absolutely. I love that. It's so important. And I'm with you all the way on that one, for sure.
And you know, she said in her talk, surprisingly, the people that, well, not surprisingly maybe, but the only people that don't apologize are they're either older, so they've gone through life, and they're tired of apologizing, and or they've gone through something. So if like cancer survivors, they'll sit down and just be like, let's do this, you know? And I hope that with time we don't have to get to that point before we stop apologizing for taking up space.
That's right.
Yeah.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Amen to that. Let's pray on that.
Absolutely.
Let's make that happen.
Yeah.
I'm all about it. I'm with you on that always. Do not apologize to
Yes.
me for how amazing you look.
Yes.
Because I'm not going to apologize to you.
Yeah, for
okay.
sure. Yes.
I love it. So thank you so much, Andrea
Oh,
Cabanas,
yes.
for being with us today on the East Coast Fashion Summit.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, sweetie. I appreciate you more than you'll ever know.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Yes.
And can't wait to see what's coming up next.
Thank you. Me too. I'm excited.
Yeah.